Commissioner Holzman.
Good morning. Sylvie's here.
Coleman is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Commissioner?
Kenny's here.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
I believe we have everyone but Roop at this point. So, got a couple more minutes.
Hello.
Good morning.
Roop's here.
Good morning, Commissioner. We are all here, so at 10:15 we will go. And it is now 10:15. So all commissioners are in attendance. We'll go ahead and call the July 29th agenda meeting to order. Again, due to COVID, the commission will continue conducting agendas via WebEx for the foreseeable future. I would ask that those participating please mute your phones unless you need to speak. We had a closed litigation item listed for today's agenda, but that item was withdrawn, so we'll no longer have that. There is a presentation at the end of today's agenda from Ameren, and there will also be a Universal Service Board meeting immediately following our agenda. So the first up is the approval of the minutes from July 23rd, 2020. You all have seen those. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from July 23rd, 2020 say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are approved 5-0. Tariffs and new orders today. We have 5 of them. So first up is file number RO 2020-0098. This is in the matter of an investigatory docket to review the Lifeline program practices of Virgin Mobile USA LP, DBA Assurance Wireless, brought to you by Virgin Mobile. Last fall, the commission opened an investigatory docket so staff could review Assurance Wireless's status as an eligible telecommunications carrier and look into allegations that the company's parent company, Sprint Corp, had defrauded the Lifeline program. There have been concerns about improper use of federal funds. So staff reported that the FCC was looking at violations by Assurance Wireless of the non-usage rule that requires Lifeline providers to start de-enrolling customers if they don't use the service within 1 month. Assurance Wireless acknowledged the violation and agreed to refund improperly collected support funds. Last week, staff filed a progress report that Assurance Wireless has not refunded all improperly received funds it obtained for Missouri's Lifeline subscribers. So staff has completed its investigation and recommends that the company be directed to file updates. I want to thank staff for their efforts in this investigation. This order closes the investigation and directs the company to submit updates on FCC actions on items related to staff's investigation. So with that, I support the order as drafted version 1. Commissioner Kinney?
I am in support of the orders.
Commissioner Roop?
I'm in support as well.
Commissioner Coleman?
I support the order.
And Commissioner Holzman?
I support the order.
All right. All those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 1 say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number GF 2020-0334. This is in the matter of Spire Missouri, Inc., DBA Spire's verified application for approval of financing authority. Spire requested financing authority for $750 million through September 30th of 2023. The company identified various ways that the securities would be used, including the discharge or redemption of previously issued bonds, the financing of the purchase or construction of additional facilities, and the discharge of outstanding short-term debt. So staff reviewed the information provided by Spire and recommended the approval of financing up to $660 million with certain conditions. Public counsel supported staff's conditions and requested additional conditions, including having Spire provide information related to the analysis it performed to determine if debt would be secured or the type of debt security to be issued, and that Spire provides staff and OPC information on the reduction in embedded cost of long-term debt due to tender offers. Spire responded that it didn't object to staff or OPC's proposed language and conditions. So reviewing the filings, I think that Spire's request and the stated purposes for the funds will be used are consistent with what our statutes and regulations allow. So I support this order granting authority for Spire to obtain financing of $660 million with the unimposed conditions suggested by staff and OPC. The order will also go into effect in 10 days, so the company can begin to use its financing authority then. With that, I support the order as drafted version 2. Commissioner Kinney.
I support the order.
Commissioner Roop.
I will be supporting the order as well.
Commissioner Coleman.
I'm in support.
And Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right. All those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 2 say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That order is also approved 5-0. Next up, file number EE 2019-0382. This is in the matter of Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren Missouri's request for a waiver of various tariffs and regulations to enable the deployment of automated metering infrastructure beginning in 2020. In May, the Commission approved a partial stipulation and agreement that resolved the majority of issues concerning Ameren's request for rule variances and tariff revisions as part of its deployment of smart meters. A unanimous stipulation and agreement was filed earlier this month that resolved the unresolved issues concerning door hangers, contact, and reduction of reconnection fees for AMI customers. Under the agreement, Ameren Missouri would be granted a variance from 20 CSR 4240-13.050 sub 9 and 13.055 sub 3 sub C and D. The agreement also details how the company should handle things like outreach to elderly and disabled customers, timings for disconnections, and enhancements to the medical safety registry. I want to thank the parties in Ameren for their work on some very thorough customer-focused solutions, like the dedicated webpage focused on providing information for vulnerable and elderly and disabled customers, and the $5 reconnection fees for AMI customers. So I support the agreement worked out by all the parties and recommend approval of this order approving the July 22nd unanimous stipulation and agreement, granting the limited regulation variances, and this is version 2. Commissioner Kinney.
I support the order.
Commissioner Roop.
I will be voting yes.
Commissioner Coleman.
I support the order.
And Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right. All those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 2 say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That order is also approved 5-0. Next up, file number GR 2019-0119. This is in the matter of Spire Missouri, Inc., DBA Spire East annual PGA filing. This file involves the purchase gas adjustment for the 2017 and 2018 period and the recommended actual cost adjustments. Staff reviewed the amounts collected in the 2017 through 2018 period and in December of 2019 recommended ending ACA balances. However, since the parties were still working on a resolution for issues in the prior ACA review period, and the ACA balances from a prior period can impact balances going forward, this matter was put off until the other ACA case was resolved. Last month, the Commission approved the resolution for the ACA balances in GR 2017-0299. So we can now deal with the 2017 and 2018 ACA balance in this file. On July 14th, staff filed a status report and recommended that the Commission approve the proposed ending balances. No other responses were received, so I support this order establishing the September 30th, 2018 ACA ending balances for Spire East, and this is version 1. Commissioner Kinney,
I support the order.
Commissioner Roop,
I am in support.
Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That order is also approved 5-0. Final report today is file number GS 2021-0019. This is in the matter of Spire, Missouri, Inc., DBA Spire, Missouri West, concerning a natural gas pipeline incident along Highway 169 in Kansas City. Staff requested that the Commission open an investigatory docket that will allow staff to conduct an investigation into a gas incident that occurred along Highway 169 when a 12-inch gas pipeline owned by Spire, Missouri West was damaged during a highway construction project. This order grants the request and directs staff to file a report regarding the incident by January 25th of 2021. So I support this order as drafted version 1. Commissioner Kinney,
I support the order.
Commissioner Roop,
I do as well.
Commissioner Coleman,
I'm in support.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That order is also approved 5-0. That concludes our reports and orders today. As mentioned, the closed session has been withdrawn. So we do have the presentation from Ameren, Missouri on advancing time of use rates. So I want to welcome Tara Oglesby and go ahead and start your presentation, please.
Okay, well, good morning, Chairman Sylvie, Commissioners. And my name is Tara Oglesby, and I am Vice President of Customer Experience for Ameren, Missouri. And I want to thank you for your time this morning of giving us the opportunity to update all of you on some really exciting work that we are doing with advancing advancing customer participation in time of use rates as a result of our smart meter deployment. We have some key items that we want to discuss with you that we believe will show the results of the great collaboration that's been occurring with ourselves, with staff, the Department of Energy, and the Office of Public Counsel to put some really important customer benefits in place that were the result of an agreement from our 2020 rate case. So as you can see on the discussion topic slide, there are a number of individuals that are here with me today from Ameren, Missouri. Mark Burke, our Senior Vice President of Customer Operations, Tom Byrne, Senior Director of Regulatory Affairs, Clark Allen, Senior Manager of our digital team, Jay Sugler, I believe you all know, in Regulatory Affairs, Steve Wills, our Director in Regulatory Affairs, and Dr. Faruqi, who is principal at the Brattle Group. He was also a part of some of our recent rate case hearings that I believe, and conversations I believe that all of you have had a chance to hear from in the past. So I will be opening the presentation today. I'll be turning it over to Jeff Esserman, who'll be taking the majority of it, and then Amanda Barberi, who is our Senior Manager over our Smart Meter program. She oversees our training communications portion of the project. She'll be also having a few slides to update you on some key items in that area. So next slide, please. So as I mentioned a while ago, being able to advance time of use rates with our customers is really the result of our smart meter investment and deployment. We're really excited that we were able to set our first smart meter in July in Ameren, Missouri. And since that time, we have deployed around 6,000 meters. Our technology is working well. It's working as designed. Our billing functions are working properly. This was our largest plan and our largest project in our smart energy plan. And, just a lot of work went into the design of it, making sure that it was tested properly, making sure that we were taking learnings from other utilities from Ameren, Illinois, just to design something that we felt would make sure that it met our customers' needs. And as a result of that, we had a 5-year deployment originally scheduled. And we're able to now step back and say, is there an opportunity here that we can advance that and deploy in 4 years instead of 5, and so that we can start getting some of the customer benefits that will be enabled by our deployment out to customers faster. So on the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Esserman here. Again, I'm just really wanting to welcome everyone, just give everybody just kind of a little bit of a background on how we got here. It's been a few months that we've been meeting with our key stakeholders. It's been just, like I said earlier, just some great collaboration. I think you'll see the outcome of those conversations in this presentation, and we are certainly open to any questions that you have throughout the discussion. So, Jeff?
Thank you, Tara. I appreciate the opportunity to go through some dynamics on how we're looking to deliver on those time of use rate expectations from our agreement. Really, this slide, is just a quick summary of what we see as some of the important highlights from that agreement. The first being that there's a new, what we call default time of use rate. It's really an opportunity for customers to look at their usage in the day and the evening and make that migration to a time of use rate as they get their AMI meter. But we'll also be rolling out all of our time of use rate options. There are 5 of those, and some of those have those significant peak to off-peak variances as well. The second is 6 months after a residential AMI meter is installed, we will communicate with customers and share with them the calculation of their bill based on their usage in each of those rate option categories. Third is that all new customers or new accounts with AMI meters will be placed directly on that new default rate. So if you're already had an AMI meter installed and you just happen to move into a new property, you will automatically be placed on that default rate. We will implement a rate comparison tool to support customer education. So we will deploy a tool. There's some really good technology out there these days as the smart meter technology world has advanced to provide that to customers. We'll execute a robust communication plan, and really customer education and engagement is key in this process. For Ameren Missouri customers, this is brand new in terms of offering these types of options. We're really excited about that. But communication and a positive customer experience is going to be key. And then lastly, as Tara elaborated on, we've had this collaborative session with the staff, OPC, and Department of Energy to gather input to make sure that we were considering all the various stakeholders in that planning process. So with that, I'll pause. Is there any questions?
I don't have any at this time. Any other commissioners?
Thank you. So moving on, really what we're looking at now is, post-settlement agreement and stakeholder meetings is really building on the body of work to deliver on this well for customers. And we've broken this work into really 4 distinct areas. The first is the need to really enhance our billing system. For Ameren Missouri, our core billing system is certainly extremely important to us. And what we're going to be doing is changing the dynamics where we, essentially bill on register billing today, register reads, and moving that to incorporating billing across all interval data. And so you can think about the amount of data now that has to be incorporated in how we calculate bills. And that's going to have to be applicable to all new AMI customers, and that will continue to grow over the next several years. Second is the shadow billing requirement, and we use the term shadow billing to represent, every iteration we'll need to calculate the amount of the bill for all of those rate options so that we can communicate to customers what their bill might have been under all of those rate plan scenarios. So not only will we calculate their core bill, but we'll have to calculate all of those other rate option bills. And then lastly, really scaling this to be able to accommodate all 1.2 million of our electric customers is going to take some significant work, but we also see significant benefit in the future in terms of flexibility to be able to offer rate options. The second one is the bill comparison tool. We talked about that. The new rate choice platforms, one thing we really want to do is provide this in a very convenient way to customers to be able to execute. So whether that be on the web or on the phone or via mail, we want to have some convenient channels so that customers can make these choices. And then lastly, just the importance of communication again and making sure that we are delivering on that well. So these are our 4 core work streams. And next I wanted to cover that, the framework of our plan is really based in a foundation on customer feedback. And I think it was really important that we gathered this feedback. We conducted some customer research. We did some online focus groups. We did, surveys. We did that across all of our territories in customer segments and geographies, just to learn with this type of change, what are our customers looking for? The first is to essentially communicate well. We say over-communicate. It's not, a 20-page document or letter to describe these, but it really is making sure that we provide them detail so that they can make a solid choice and decision. Focusing on customer benefit is really important. They just want to know it's not about the meter, but what does it enable for them? What are their choices, savings opportunities? How can they use this to their benefit? We really need to clarify what customers need to do and when, how to activate on these choices and make sure that they understand where to go and how to do it. The fourth one is a concept I want to introduce, which is called lifestyle framing, and we introduce this to customers. What we want to do is understand for time of use rates, what are the customer behaviors that align well with those rates? For example, it could be electric vehicle ownership. It could be, when they use energy most. Are they, do they work day shift and actually, consume more at night? Are there behaviors that we can identify that will allow customers to make good choices on these rates in that framework? And we'll talk a little bit more about lifestyle framing as we go forward in this. And then lastly is helping customers feel in control. They want to know that it's not just Ameren, that they have a say in the matter. And so we gathered these insights by listening to our customers. So we just wanted to share that we're founding our plan and how we're approaching this in feedback from customers. I'll pause there. Any questions?
Go ahead. Chairman Silva, you got any questions?
No, go right ahead. Yeah, commissioners, just feel free to jump in with questions at any time.
Okay. I just have one question on follow-up from the original discussion. You said all customers, and so I wanted to know, does that include net metered customers? And I know that we had a conversation about that, so just wanted to follow up and make sure that that's a part of your planning.
Well, at this time, we're not focused on these rates in the net metering base. I know Steve Wills has been looking at that. Steve, did you want to touch on that topic?
Yeah, Commissioner Holzman, thank you. I think you might recall from the initial discussions of this at the end of our case when we came in for the on the record presentation, that for the more complex time of use rates, we just didn't have the kind of time to do the billing implementation work that would be required of that. So today there's going to be 2 of the rates that are available to net metered customers, which is our base, our standard flat rate, and the default rate with the small differential. We did commit to you then and still stand by that commitment that we're going to be taking a close look at that when we have the time before our next rate case to work on what it would look like to be able to do that with all of our rates. And so we are very much planning to continue to follow through on seeing how we can make more rate options available to net metering customers and hopefully have uniform offerings across all of the customer base.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is Commissioner Roop. I want to follow up on Commissioner Holzman's question. So the answer I heard was nothing has changed since the hearing to address any of Commissioner Holzman's concerns other than you're looking at it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't think there's anything we can implement in between rate cases. So our work has been geared towards what we would, propose to change with these tariffs going into the next rate case, Commissioner. But yeah, I don't think there's an option. I mean, I think to change how we're doing that in between rate cases, those are, tariff provisions that are set in rate cases. So what we're doing is looking at it to prepare for the best solution in the next case that we file.
Okay, that's what I thought you were saying, but wanted to get a clarification. I have another question. So your slide 7, you talk about there's 90% when you have the information after so many months, but you guys are sending it out after every 6 months. So I wasn't quite clear from what you were saying. Did you say every single bill that the customer receives after 6 months, every monthly bill is going to calculate all these rate options, or you're just doing it at 6 and 12, or could you clarify that?
Sure, absolutely. I was sorry, I moved to the next slide, Commissioner, but just to clarify this, in the agreement, we are being asked to provide, those shadow billing comparisons after 6 months, essentially. And so one thing we wanted to take advantage of was, our sister company, Ameren Illinois, has deployed smart meters. So what we did is we took a blind random sample of 50,000 meters and looked at their AMI data. And then what we did is we said, okay, if 24 months is a really, a strong level of confidence in how customers are going to behave in their usage, if we calculated all those shadow bills after 24 months of data, how often would 12 months of data match that 24-month option for customers and calculation, and then how often would 6 months? And so the key takeaway here is that, the AMI data, the confidence in that shadow billing calculation grows over time, and that it just stresses the importance of making sure that we provide good lifestyle framing to customers in terms of behaviors so they can make good choices. So we essentially will always be calculating those rate options for customers to be able to share that with them. What we wanted to, highlight here is how when we do that at that 6-month requirement in the settlement agreement, that we just have to consider how confident we are in that data. Does that,
yeah, I appreciate that. So I guess the heart of my question is, if I have my smart meter and I'm in my 8th month of having it, will my bill show the calculations of all the different rate options? Or is this just you're sending it out after 6 months, but then you're not sending it out? So will it be on every single bill past 6 months mark?
So how we can deliver that, we'll work on the communication plan, but we will have an online rate comparison tool, Commissioner, and in launching that will be readily available so that customers could look at that at any point in time. So the thought is we'll take that as an ongoing item where customers can engage that online throughout any, months of data or level in the experience.
So the customer will need to seek that out online. It won't be a shadow bill that it shows up in their mail when they get their bill or in their online billing statement.
Well, the requirement is at 6 months. We will at times direct customers and allow them to see that information and work through the communication plan that Amanda Barbieri will highlight. I just want to make it clear that source will always be readily available for customers.
So I appreciate that. And you said at times you will make that, you will communicate that to the customer. What is your plan for that communication? If it's not every single bill that they receive will also be a shadow bill, is it every 3 months after the 6 month period? Is it every 6 months after the first? So I guess that's, you said you will, I'm trying to understand.
Well, I think what we want to do is make sure that we will communicate that. I don't think we've defined necessarily those iterations yet, Commissioner, but what we will do is make sure that we create the experience so that customers can access that resource and have it readily available. And the shadow billing calculation will occur at the timing that we have in the settlement. I think we got to pull the combination, and Amanda will go through that calendar with you, but we still have, some opportunity to consider what iteration makes sense.
Okay, and so to meet the agreement of the 6 months, will that first initial, here's your first bill comparison, will that be on their bill? Or will it just be available online for them to seek it out?
No, our existing plan is to do that in a separate mailer to make sure that we call the right level of attention to that to customers. So the thought would be that first iteration would be in a separate mailer to customers to make sure that it provides the insights and clarity.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question, and you might address this, I haven't flipped forward through the slides, so if you're planning on addressing it, just let me know. You'll answer it later, but obviously we're in a very unique situation. When looking at your lifestyle framing, there's a lot of people that used to leave the house by 9 a.m. and not come back at 5. So how is this COVID pandemic lockdown, how is that going to affect this data? And do you feel that the 6 months, from now, your first, St. Charles County and St. Louis County, will that even be reliable data? And have you tried to factor that in?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Commissioner. I think the answer to that truly is, at this point, we're going to have to continue to look at the data and evaluate that. I don't know that we have a definitive answer as to how that's going to look. But again, it puts a highlight on the lifestyle framing piece. What we hope to come up with, and we continue to refine that, is lifestyle questions and opportunities for customers to really understand their behavior and make good decisions on that behavior. But I think we're going to have to monitor that data over time to see what volatility and changes take place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a follow-up on one of Commissioner Root's questions.
Sure.
So if I'm the customer and I'm 6 months into this and I go online, is the data that I see going to be tied specifically to my usage? And so I'll get an exact comparison of what I did do in July if I would have had, this time to use parameters. And if so, how far back does that go? Because sometimes customers will have very different behaviors depending on, in July versus December and how their house is set up, or if they're, using power for heat and whatnot. So the question is how far back can they look, and is the data specific to their use in relationship to what it would have been if they'd used another time of use?
That's correct. Yeah. So appreciate that question, Commissioner. The data will be the customer's own data, right? So we will build these shadow billing and comparisons based on their data. And one of the highlights of the technology we plan to launch is what we're calling our data presentment tool, which will house at least 2 years of data for those customers, so they can actually look at their usage patterns and leverage all those insights when making these decisions. So to answer your question, yes, it'll be their data, and we'll have at least 2 years of data out there for them to look at to be able to frame these decisions.
That's great. I imagine that a lot of folks are really going to enjoy, trying to take control of their own behavior. That'd be great. Thanks.
Absolutely. We see this move to these rates as, one important benefit is getting customers to really start engaging their usage and their behaviors in a totally different way. And so we're excited about that opportunity. Agree.
Yeah.
Question?
This is Commissioner Sylvia. I just want to follow up and echo Commissioner Roop's comments about COVID changing people's behavior. Just specifically, I was going to switch to the overnight EV charging rate like on day one. But then in talking through it with some folks on your staff, kind of realized that I'm not driving as much. I'm not leaving home. I'm spending most of my energy during the day right now. So I think that that behavior and this pandemic is going, understanding it will be crucial moving forward. I just wanted to share my personal experience with that and your specific programs. So I echo Commissioner Roop on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, I absolutely believe that's something we're going to have to continue to monitor and pay attention.
Let me jump in here. You said you're going to continue to monitor it, but I noticed, and unlike Commissioner Roop, I have scrolled ahead with the presentation document, so I do think that you'll probably address some of my questions. But I guess when you say that you're going to continue to monitor this and look at it, do you have a specific plan already as to what dates or how often you will be reevaluating if this is working for people? Because I really like your idea of your educational component, but it still concerns me that it's never enough. And you talked about you're going to have an online, provide that information there for people to see, but I get really worried about people who don't have internet access and the amount of attention you all are going to pay to putting this information in your mailers. So I just wonder if there's been, I'm sure there have been conversations about how to educate those that are not connected, but I'd like to know what kind of ideas you have around that.
Yes, thanks for that, Commissioner Coleman. At this point, one thing that we really want to do is empower customers with their usage insights and moving to AMI meters. Right now, we actually are working through all of our business process design work to make sure that we're capturing all those insights and apply that to both our systems and our communication plan. We see significant benefit for a whole cross-section of customers, including, those customers that could be in our low-income categories and have some needs. And so our thought would be to continue to, the way that it was outlined in the settlement was to communicate the initial insights in the channel of communication that those customers prefer. And so one thing that we're working on is making sure that we've got communication preferences so that we understand how all of our customers want us to communicate with them, and then make sure we're sharing those insights in those channels. And some of that is still a little under development, but we still have opportunity, and we see that across, all of those segments of customers, including, low income, in terms of the education and understanding of how they can use these rates to their benefit. So we're still designing some of that, but the one thing we're trying to take into account, Commissioner, is how customers want us to communicate with them.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Roop again. I wanted to just, I think what you're sensing, at least I know from me, and I can't speak for the other commissioners, but I think this is what we're concerned about is, we've been looking forward to having time of use rates in this state through Ameren for a very long time. And it's just extremely unfortunate that the country is going through this difficult time. And I want to put it on the record that I don't want the pandemic, it's going to affect your numbers. And I can see those that are anti-time of use rates using this information and using this because you might not get the response that we originally thought you would get from consumers because they're changing, their lifestyle has changed, there's uncertainty. And I don't want that to be used against you for product design or things of that nature, because I think your numbers are going to be heavily impacted because of the pandemic. And I think you have a lot of support from this commission on time of use rates, but I'm sensing like the concern that this might not be what we had eventually wanted it to be through no fault of anyone except, the virus that's going around. And I do anticipate that people will use these results against time of use rates when they are in a rate case and they are arguing and things of that nature. So I wanted to kind of state that I think there's that concern, and I wanted to at least personally go on the record of saying, I believe this commission, I know I personally do, believes in time of use rates. It is the right way to go. Unfortunately, your rollout is in a very unique time, and that does not, and I think we recognize that, and we're not going to, or at least whoever's on the commission after we're gone, should hopefully not, skew those numbers as time of use rates are not effective in Missouri because of how this is being rolled out at the time of which it's being rolled out. So that was the comment, not a question.
Commissioner Roop, I certainly appreciate that comment. I think it highlights the opportunity for us to do this lifestyle framing with some of those right behaviors or even behaviors as a result of, our current COVID situation and understanding those risk points in the data that you highlighted. So I appreciate that comment. I think we need to figure out, the appropriate way to, communicate that back to customers. So thank you for that.
I've got one more follow-up before you move on that one there. So how flexible are you, and how often can the consumer change their classification? So if they get on your internet tool and they find out that in July they're using more air conditioning at night, and so they want to switch it up, can they look every month and change every month, or how often will they be able to change?
No, I believe that, you can make a decision on the evening, morning saver rate or the anytime user rate. We can be flexible, but if you choose one of the more sophisticated options, I believe it's defined, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it 1 year before you can go back?
And I apologize, my connection is maybe cutting in and out. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Commissioner, there's a few elements here. First of all, the overnight savers and smart savers rates give options for customers to enroll in those rates for the summer only or for year round. So that would allow someone with a space heating, in the winter to make a different choice for their winter usage than their summer usage. A second element of it is the only restrictions on when you can move into or out of a rate is that if you leave one of our more complex rates, like the overnight smart or ultimate savers rates, you can't go back to it for a period of a year, just so we didn't have too much jumping in and out of those complicated rates. But you can always go back to a flat rate or the default time of use rate, and then you can return to any of the other time of use options as well. And just once you leave a rate, once you leave a complex time of use rate, the tariff provision requires you to wait a year to get back on that. So you could choose it once per year in that element. But again, the overnight savers and smart savers have both summer and year-round optionality available to the customer.
Okay, well, in that case, let me reinforce Commissioner Coleman's point that there are a lot of senior citizens that don't have the internet, and they, will make a choice. If they choose a complex rate and it turns out to be the wrong choice, then I would just emphasize the amount of education that goes into a user deciding what's right for them. And I wouldn't automatically assume that they're going to have access to the internet. So, especially for low-income customers. So I would just encourage you that as you start to roll this out, to think about those folks who aren't, as accessible to the internet as maybe some others, and making sure that they know exactly what they're doing before they do it, since they have to wait a year before they do something else if they want to get into a complex rate. So that's my comment.
Great, thanks. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for those customers without the internet, our call center is going to be well versed in all this information as well to help customers with those questions.
Absolutely. They'll to take a multi-channel approach. I think it's a great time to maybe just really quick walk through, maybe have Amanda walk us through the timeline of communication that we drafted, which will really give you a sense of how we're taking a multi-approach. Amanda, want to kind of walk through this?
Excuse me, before Amanda starts, Tara may need to answer this question, but I would assume that budget billing will still be in existence for customers, regardless of what plan a person has chosen. Is that accurate?
Commissioner Coleman, I think at this point, I know budget billing is an option. How those are tied to those rates, I believe so. But Steve, is that accurate? Is that an accurate assumption?
There are certainly no tariff provisions that we put in the case that would restrict the availability of budget billing on that.
I'm sorry. Say that again, please.
I say there's no restrictions in the tariffs that we put in the case for budget billing for those customers. So at least from a perspective of availability that exists. I don't know if Tara or anyone else has more information on how we will communicate about budget billing with these rates, but they're not restricted from using it.
Commissioner, this is Mark Burke. We'll take your feedback on that and we'll look into it. We don't intend to restrict budget billing on these. We just have to make sure that we can, effectively make it work. So I think Tara may have had to jump off the call for another engagement she had.
Okay, sure. Please make a note that I am looking forward to a response regarding that.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Before we move into communications, any other questions? Thank you. Amanda, did you want to walk through the timeline?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. And can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, thanks. So this next slide here, I want to walk you through the cadence in which we will be reaching out to customers through our education and just letting them know more about their rate options and, selections that they can make. So we start with 30 days before the meter installation. We let customers know that they will have rate options as a result of their new smart meter. The day of the meter installation, we have a leave behind for customers where, again, we reference the benefits of their new smart meters. We point them back to the website for more information on those benefits of their smart meter. And then approximately 2 weeks after the installation of their smart meter, we give them a benefits mailer. And in that benefits mailer, we really line out what a time of use rate is. And so that customers can start getting comfortable with that terminology so they can understand a time of use rate. And again, we point them back to the website for more information so that if they really have that desire to learn even more about time of use rates, we have a web page that's already built out right now with that information for customers to view. And then approximately 4 months after meter installation, customers will receive even more education, letting them know that rate change will be happening soon and kind of letting them know what that means for them and how to make a different choice if they have a desire to make a different choice at that point. Again, we view this month 4 piece as really education around these rate offerings that we have. And in month 5, customers will receive a separate mailing that we had mentioned before. This is where we will show the shadow billing data, so the bill comparison presentation to customers. So customers will see 4 months of usage in this particular communication piece, so they can see what their rate would have been over the last 4 months. And then again, we let them know how they can make a selection if they would like to make a selection. In month 6, we send another reminder. This is kind of the beginning of that month. This is prior to them being defaulted. We remind them that they will be seeing a rate change. There are rate options, and we allow them another opportunity to make a different choice. I think we had talked a little earlier in the presentation about how do we reach out to customers, in the method that is preferable for them. I think this is an opportunity for us to reach out to some of the customers who don't have access to internet. We're anticipating that this communication in month 6 will be a way for customers to respond with a reply postcard, so they won't have to get on the internet to make a selection or even make a phone call if they prefer not to. But again, to reiterate what we stated a few minutes ago, our advisors will be well trained in all of these different rate options, so that when customers call with this data or these questions about these particular rates, our advisors will be well versed in these rates, as well as what their shadow billing data is showing customers too. And then after that selection reminder piece of communication, we will default the customer if we haven't heard from them and they hadn't made a selection. And in month 7, we will send just an overall reminder to customers that they have been defaulted to a new rate option. So we just want to make sure that customers are aware, because they are going to see a different type of bill format. So we want to make sure that customers are aware that they are now on a new rate. So again, we wanted to make sure that we were communicating frequently with customers so that they were aware in lots of different methods and channels, so that a customer may only see one of these, or they may see all of them, but at least they're aware that change is coming, and we're inputting our education spin on this as well, so that customers are learning and understanding what a time of use rate means, what it might mean for their household as well. Any questions on these touch points here that we have defined?
Amanda, I remember during the rate hearings, and this is a question for anyone who can answer. We talked about the default. Please remind me, someone, which plan is the default plan?
So the default plan we've been calling the evening morning saver rate. So that's the rate that has 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. is the off-peak, and the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is the on-peak.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And Commissioner, this is Steve Wills. Recall that one has a more a narrower peak versus off-peak pricing differential. So for those customers who are being switched without really being aware, the bill impact is likely to be quite small on that rate, whereas some of the more complicated rates have both the opportunities for greater savings, but also for higher bills if they're not careful about it. This default rate is not going to have as extreme of an impact on a customer who's unaware of the change.
Okay, thank you.
This next slide here is a snapshot of our website. So I've referenced that a few times now. We have currently built out a website with rate information for customers to view. We want to make sure that as customers are going through this installation process right now, that they have an ability to learn and to get comfortable with these new rate options and what it might mean for them and their household. So we wanted to make sure that we were incorporating the lifestyle framing into each one of these rates. You can see we've organized them by tabs, so you can click on each different rate option here, and it includes a little bit of the lifestyle framing up front, how it works, and then the specifics, the mechanics behind the rate, the differential, the peaks, and the timing of that. And then we also wanted to make sure that we had a graphic representation of the rate. We found that this really resonates well with customers, for them to see specifically during the day what they would be paying and when they would be paying that rate. So we wanted to make sure that we included that for each one of these rates. We also have a robust FAQ section, so any questions that we captured to date. And this is a living website as well. As we get customer feedback, we will be updating this website continuously to make sure that it is the best experience for our customers, that it's straightforward, simple, to the point, and it helps answer customers' questions instead of create more questions for the customers. So again, this website is live. This is currently available for our customers to view. And in all of our communication pieces, we will be allowing customers, giving them this link so that they can go back if they have any more questions as well. And that's also included in any text messages we send customers. We will encourage them to visit our website as well. Any questions regarding our website?
It doesn't sound like any questions at this time.
Thank you.
Excuse me, let me just jump more time. I'm particularly interested in the budget billing when it comes to the anytime user, which is your existing rate. And so I'm wondering if when you provide me the information about the budget billing, if you can specifically also let me know if it's going to be effective or not for each plan or any particular one. Because right now I know that you note that this is the existing rate and there is budget billing in place right now. So my question would be in particular, if there will be budget billing with this, which one of these plans will it relate to, or will it be all of them? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will absolutely incorporate that in our response as we go through and make sure that we clarify that in our design piece. Any further questions? We really appreciate the engagement. I'll go ahead and wrap up on a couple of items here. One is just reiterating the benefits and challenges with our, movement forward in this initiative. Really, the benefits of, enhancing the customer value proposition with our AMI investment, setting our systems up for future, opportunities in the rate arena. I see the one that was brought up earlier is huge. The improving customers' visibility and engagement in their usage behavior and being able to activate on options and services related to that. And then really the industry's advanced in terms of technology to support this. And then our core challenges is really, we've highlighted some of those today, is making sure that our customers are well informed and educated. We want to make sure that we minimize any customer confusion or issues when defaulting to the new TOU rate. We want to keep customer effort to a minimum, and we want to make sure that we upgrade our systems well. As you can imagine, it's a lot to, expand what we're doing and scale our systems appropriately. So we're going to be working over over those options over the next several months. So these are our key benefits and challenges. And then lastly, really the timeline we highlighted. We'll have the majority of our requirements and technical items identified by September. We'll really start looking at communicating beginning in October based on that stream that Amanda shared. Looking to complete our initial bill requirements and system deliverables by the end of this year. And then look at the new TOU rate options and execution between, moving customers and having all of our customer experience options available to customers through the first quarter of next year. This continues to be something that we're evaluating. You know, we're right now sizing up all the work, getting all the feedback we need to deliver this well, but this is where we are today, and we wanted to share that. So that was kind of all we had in terms of our presentation, and certainly would like to open it up to any further questions or dialogue.
All right, thank you for the presentation. I think we've had some good discussion. I don't have any other questions at this time. Any other commissioners have questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to echo Commissioner Roop's position that, you know, we are excited about time of use being in Missouri, and we want to make sure that we kind of ride out this next, you know, however long the storm is that we're in before we make any long-term decisions about its effectiveness. So that's it. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or
Commissioner.
questions from commissioners? All right, hearing none. Thank you again for the presentation. I think the information is valuable, and I thought it was a good discussion. So thank you for that. That concludes our business for this agenda meeting, but we do have a USB meeting right after with Commissioner Kinney. Commissioner, I believe we need to disconnect from this WebEx and reconnect to the other one. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, my understanding is immediately following the conclusion of this agenda, we will all call back into the other number, and I'll take the roll, and it should be a quick meeting.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, with that, we will, yes, Commissioner.
Can we do a calendar before we
Oh,
adjourn?
you are right. I apologize. Let's do that. Hold on just 1 second. Yes, okay, scheduling, moving forward. So Wednesday, July 29th, we just have the USB agenda, or following agenda. Wednesday, August 5th, agenda at 10:15 a.m. Wednesday, August 5th through Thursday, August 6th, we have an evidentiary hearing in TC 2020-0333. This is Socket Telecom LLC v. CenturyLink at 9 a.m. via WebEx and also in room 310, Judge DePel presiding. Tuesday, August 11th through Wednesday, August 12th, we have an evidentiary hearing in EO 2018-0211. That's Ameren's third filing to implement regulatory changes and furtherances of energy efficiency as allowed by MEA. That's at 8 a.m. in room 310, Judge DePel presiding. We currently have that scheduled as an evidentiary hearing, but we're still determining if that will be an on-the-record presentation instead, as they're still working on agreements, so that may change. Tuesday, August 11th, we have a rulemaking hearing in EX 2020-0006. This is in the matter of the proposed amendments to 20 CSR 4240-20.060, filing requirements for electric utility cogeneration. That's at 10 a.m. in room 310. That is in person with Judge Clark and also via WebEx. Wednesday, August 12th, agenda at 10:15 a.m. Wednesday, August 19th, agenda at 10:15 a.m. And Wednesday, August 26th, agenda at 10:15 a.m. Thank you, Commissioner, for reminding me of that oversight. So are there any questions or comments regarding scheduling? Okay, hearing none. Now, if there are no other questions from commissioners or anything anyone wants to say, we will stand adjourned and reconvene immediately on the other number for the USB meeting. Okay, we are adjourned.
Chairman.
Yep, thank you.